recipe for great food is simple. Make it fresh. Wings to go in Greenville, where every order is a custom order made with fresh ingredients. Wings to go, 7818 Wesley Street in Greenville. Simply great wings.
Need a part for the right price? Look for that red and blue sign. Henley Auto Supply at 1510 Stonewall. Over 800,000 CarQuest parts to choose from. Domestic, European, and Asian parts. Henley Auto Supply at 903-455-1969. 455-1969. Henley Auto Supply has the right part to keep your vehicle running. And backed by the best hometown service. Henley Auto Supply. Great people, great products, great prices. Henley Auto Supply and CarQuest.
Evan.
Hi, Evan. How
Hi,
are you?
Evan.
Hi, Evan.
Yeah. Brad, good to see you back. So, Summer, you want to? I've looked at this presentation, read it a couple of times. It's really outstanding. I talked to Heather. I talked to Summer about.
It's been a long time since you called me that.
Yeah. Whether she wanted to be interrupted on each slide or wait, hold. She doesn't care. How does the council want to do that? Either way, it doesn't matter to me. Want to do it? Just ask her after each slide. Then if you've got some questions. She can probably answer them for you.
I can try.
Okay.
If not, we'll figure it out. Yeah, I should be able to scroll through it. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, there they go. They both popped up on both screens. So what you have before you sitting in front of you is the actual proposed budget book. It gets in a little bit more detail. I've got about 35 slides for this presentation, kind of hitting the high points if you've looked at it already. And so if you want to ask any questions, you certainly can. Not everything, every line item is in this budget book. If it was, it would probably be about 400 to 500 pages. So to make it easier for not only you guys as city council, but also as taxpayers to be able to read through that. But certainly if you have any questions that need in more detail, then certainly you can ask myself, and then I'll get Talia to help me answer those questions on the details and things like that. And just a reminder, staff has been working on this budget book probably for, in the numbers and the values and everything that we put in it since January, February. So kind of we hit that. We started with we kind of did something new, and I'll get into a little bit when we talk about one of the other slides, but with the capital part of it, we've got quite a bit of capital. We've had, when I first got here in 2015, we had several things on our capital list. But it was a 10-year capital list. It really didn't seem realistic. So every year we've tried to at least make that a little bit better and a little bit more flexible. Obviously things come up as you get into the budget, you get into the year, things break, you have to make emergency repairs, things that you don't know about come up. And so what we've tried to do is put that into a 5-year plan. Obviously if you look at last year's 5-year plan and this year's 5-year plan, it might look a little bit different. Our situation with revenues are a little bit different. Fees, maybe we got a grant or things like that. So when you're looking through those things, certainly those things change. We met with staff several different times. We went through a scoring matrix of importance to, gosh, it was I think we spent at least 2 hours each time going through that and actually placing the priority on those capital items. Because, you know, before staff would just come to submit it to Talia, and they would come to me, and then her and I would have to sit down and say, what is most important? So what I did, I said, staff, we got the leadership group together, and we put those in priority of where they should be, you know, there's several different scoring matrices. If you guys like to see that, you certainly can. And so after we kind of got through that process, then we matched that up with you guys' council goals, and that's kind of where we're at today. And obviously that's going to change over the next month prior to September 14th to us approving that. So I'll kind of go through kind of what's in here, where we're at, what we're looking at, and like Mayor said, you can ask any questions along the way and I'll be happy to answer them. So just a reminder, the vision of the City of Greenville is to build on our hometown values, enrich heritage as a diverse community by providing quality, cost-effective services to create an enjoyable, vibrant place where families and businesses choose to live, grow, and prosper. And this is a vision that was voted on by council, I think maybe in 2015, if you remember, Carol? I can't. It was when I first got here. So that's a vision that was voted on by City Council. Just some important dates. Obviously today you're getting the actual proposed budget book, and I'm giving you an overview of that. The next meeting, we will have the first public hearing on the budget, so any of the public can come up and give their input on the budget. And then September 14th will roll around very quickly. We'll have a public hearing on the tax rate, the second public hearing on the budget, and then we'll go through the process of adopting the budget, ratifying the tax rate, and then adopting the tax rate. So you have about a month to get comfortable with what you're actually voting on September 14th. Some budget assumptions that we made when going through this process. Overall, our financial position is stable. Our fund balances looked really good. We were able to include some things that we normally weren't able to include. Sales tax revenues are in really great shape, obviously. That's apparent. I don't think that's going to change. We kind of thought that, you know, because of COVID, it would change and then revert back to its behavior because sales tax is all human behavior, but it really hasn't. It's gotten better and better and better each time. So I think that behavior has changed for now. Now, obviously, that could always change. But sales tax revenues, in this budget books, we projected or budgeted 3% over our projected. So if you look at last year's compared to this year's, it's a 13.5% increase. So it's pretty large, but we only did 3% over what we actually are expecting to receive this year. We talked a little bit about this last time, but property value growth of 8.8%. So that's our appraised values. That's our overall appraised values at 8.8%. New property tax values, which is just everything new as of December 30th, that increased 40%. So that's the new housing, mainly residential, I would assume. And then a rate increase for water and sewer of 6.25%, which obviously that's going to support the bond that you guys passed last meeting for the replacement of the raw water line. So we included that in there. Health insurance rate increase of 10%. Initially, our insurance agent, Lance, came back to us with a 22% increase, which is fairly high from Blue Cross Blue Shield because it's really not that high with them. But we have a fiscal affairs meeting with the subcommittee to get into the details of that. But we feel fairly confident. Lance feels fairly confident, and he's never steered us wrong in the 5 or 6 years I've been here, that he can get that down to 10% based on claims. What's happening is a lot of people put off a lot of procedures because of COVID. A lot of those procedures came back, so we had a lot more claims than we normally. But we're still in good shape. Our claim history was still good. So we can get into the weeds of that with the subcommittee, which we'll do that next week. So that may change as we get more information and talk with Lance, and he negotiates that down. And then also included in this budget is the pay plan implementation for non-civil service employees. Like I told you guys last meeting, we updated the police pay plan, I think 1819 or 1920. 2021 we updated the fire plan. And then now, well, actually last year we were supposed to update, I apologize, I'm 1 year off. 1819 we did the police, 1920 we did fire. 2021 we were supposed to do the non-civil service employees, but we put that on hold because we didn't know what the revenue projections were going to be for COVID. So we put that on hold, so we put that back into this actual budget. Elements of your property tax. So operations and maintenance is one piece of that. You might also hear that called M&O tax rate, maintenance and operations. Either way you want to say it, it doesn't really matter. That's what we operate and the directors operate on day to day. So that's the money that we get to operate to pay salaries, supplies, services, anything like that we need. Interest and sinking is going to be your debt payment. So anything that we owe to debt, that's what we have to put into that. That is mandated by SACS. We have to pay our debt. So we can't change that INS rate. That stays the same. So so combined with those two together, you've got your O&M rate and your INS rate. So if your INS rate changes, obviously your O&M either has to go up or down, or can go up or down if your total tax rate changes. So INS stays the same year to year. And then just a reminder, I think I told you guys this last time, but 1 cent, allowing for 99% collection rate is $244,530. Compared to last year, it was $225,627. So it just went slightly up because the appraised values went up. Okay, just some property tax definitions so you understand. So we talk about the no new revenue rate, and we talk about the voter approval rate. So what your no new revenue rate is a calculation based on the new valuations that give the city the exact dollars in revenue as generated in the previous year. That throws out anything new or anything like that. So it's the exact dollars that you would have gotten the previous year with the appraised values that you have this year. So that'll fluctuate. The next slide, it'll explain that just a little bit. So basically, you would pass the same tax revenue as last year, which would be 2021, using this year's appraised values. Okay, so if that no new revenue rate is equal to or less than, or if your proposed tax rate is equal to or less than the no new revenue rate, then you don't have to publish anything. You don't have to tell your voters. You don't have to do anything like that. Now, if your proposed tax rate goes over that no new revenue rate, then there's certain notices by state that you have to do. There's some exceptions for smaller cities or districts, and those changed, I think it was 2 years ago, when the last time the legislature met, previous to this time. So in looking at our no new revenue rate is going to be 0.577041, or actually 3.4 cents, it says under the proposed 612 tax rate, which is equal to $854,852. So I just talked about the 1 cent equivalent. So if you equate that out, that's about $854 additional in revenue if we go above our no new revenue rate. Any questions on that? Kind of went kind of fast. I do this all the time, so it makes sense to me. So if it doesn't make sense, just let me know.
What are the notices and hearings requirements for this different for us?
For us, there'll be none for us because we're not going over that no new revenue rate.
Voter approval.
Correct.
What is it?
The voter approval rate is, I don't think I have it in here. Oh, hold on. Give me 1 second. The voter approval rate is 644. I apologize.
Okay, thanks.
I'm sorry. There is a public, but we have to post one public hearing.
That's all I was asking.
That's all we have to do is, I'm sorry, we are over the no new revenue. I was thinking voter approval rate, but voter approval rate, yeah, we have to petition. Sorry, they changed it 2 years ago, and I'm not used to it still. I still don't like calling it no new revenue rate and voter approval rate either, so, because they changed the name. But yes, we just have to publish one public hearing, and then we have to post it. I think it's like, I can't remember the days on it, but we have to post it in the paper and then do the public hearing. So we just have to do one public hearing. We used to, in the past, before it changed, we had to do 2 public hearings. But we don't have to do 2 public hearings anymore. No, that's on the budget. He's talking on the tax rate.
Okay.
Yeah. We still do 2 on the proposed budget because that's just, that's the way we've always done it. And it doesn't hurt anything to post it twice. But requirements for the actual tax rate is only the 1 public hearing. So, yeah, it used to be 2, you are correct. And then here's just a little bit of effect of the no new revenue rate and the appraised property value. So obviously if your appraised property value goes up, then your no new revenue rate is gonna go down, obviously, because you'll get more value and then you'll get same revenue. If your appraised property value goes down, your no new revenue rate will go up. And you'll see on the next slide, we've had an instance where that did happen. And so realistically, you want your appraised value and your no new revenue rate to be balanced. So it just kind of gives you an idea there. This is just the tax rate history since 2009. So you'll see from 2010 to about 2016, it stayed at 0.699, and then every year after that, it's dropped to 689, 652, 642. Last year was 615, and then obviously we've proposed at 612, which you guys can obviously change that up until September 14th. So just kind of give you a trend of where the actual tax rate history has been. And then this actually looks at the adopted tax rate versus the no new revenue rate. And obviously in 2021, we haven't adopted it yet, but that's the proposed rate there. If you'll look on 2012 to 2013, the no new revenue rate jumped from 0.56 all the way to 0.74. So something crazy happened with the appraised values there. So what it was, I have no idea, but within a year it jumped pretty quickly. But after that, if you look from 2014, it's kind of leveled off, and it really hasn't been actually lower than 60 cents until this actual year. So the appraised values, and now shows your appraised values of they've been going up on average between 6 and 8% over that time frame as well. So that's kind of, that actually reflects that to the actual tax rate that's been adopted. Okay, here's your voter approval rate. So this one will allow a taxing unit to raise the same amount for operations, so this is just talking maintenance and operations, as in the prior year, plus provides for an additional 3.5% increase. Previous to 2 years ago, we had an 8% increase. The legislature changed that, and so we only have a 3.5% increase in our operations portion. So this is just talking about O&M or M&O. So it takes out INS, because obviously INS stays the same, but we can do that. Let's see, like I said, the debt service rate can rise as high as it possibly needs to be and is required to be, so that won't change. And then if you do, the taxpayers may petition for a voter approval tax election if the city proposes an increase over the voter approval rate. And like I said, the voter approval rate was 0.644. So we obviously haven't proposed anything over that, so that's not going to happen. And we never have since I've been here, so. Understanding your actual property tax. So what you'll see on your property tax bill within the city limits is you'll see, and this is from 2020, because obviously all these entities are going through this process right now, so they haven't adopted all their tax rates just yet. And so in 2020, the ISD had a $1.16 tax rate for 47% of your total tax bill. We as the city were at 0.615, which was equated out to about 25%. Hunt County was 0.467 at 19%, and then obviously the Hunt Regional Hospital District is at 0.24 for 10%. So it just kind of gives you an idea. Those don't fluctuate too much. I mean, obviously those will go down and up, but just slightly. So that just gives you an idea of where your tax dollars are going. And then property taxes. So here's your certified net taxable. So in 2020, 2021, it was $2.3 billion, and then obviously this year the net taxable went to $2.5 billion, and like I said, that's an 8.8% change. The new taxable was from $36 million to $50 million for a 40% change. The tax rate went from 0.615 to 612, which is a slight decrease of 0.49%. The no new revenue rate last year was 0.5962. This year, like I said, it's 0.577041, which is a slight decrease as well. The appraised values went up, so that makes sense. Our M&O tax rate went from 0.386 to 0.351 for a slight decrease of 8.9%. And then obviously our INS tax rate went from 0.22 to 0.26 for 13.8%. That's a reflection of the new debt that we plan to issue on the CO side. And on the $50 million street bond, the $2 million, and I'll talk about it a little later as well, but we don't have a payment until the budget year, the following budget year. So we won't have any payments for that the way it was structured, or we plan to structure it. We won't have any payments for that. So there'll be some inclusions in here that you wouldn't want to see. Okay, kind of what you get for your money. So if you're just doing simple math and you do a $200,000 home, your daily property tax is going to be $3.35. So compare that maybe to your utilities, a cup of coffee if you'd like to, if it's a cup of coffee, I assume. I don't drink coffee, so I know. Your cell phone or even your auto loan. So just kind of comparing that on a daily basis. So what do you get for that $3.35? Might help if it's on, huh? You get, for your $3.35, you get police services, you get firefighter services, you get public safety education, you get library services, you get senior center programs, you get roadway infrastructure maintenance, you get sidewalk repairs, you get software to help us, you get ADA compliance improvements, economic development programs and personnel, special events at parks and downtown, and then developmental of environmentally friendly initiatives. Recreation facilities, and that's just a piece of kind of what you get. So there's a lot of other things that you get for your $3.35. And also for that $3.35, where does it go? So basically $1.44 goes to public safety, 17 cents goes to public works, and then 70 cents goes to debt. So basically the two biggest pieces are going to be your public safety and your debt is where your dollars go when you pay those taxes. We usually do a comparison, competitive cities by tax rate. So you'll see, hopefully you can see those pretty good. But Greenville is actually number 6 when you're talking about tax rate. Okay, so you've got Garland, Cleburne, Rowlett, Wiley, and Denison above those, and then you've got some of the bigger cities down below: McKinney, Paris, Plano, Louisville. So it just gives you an idea where we're at as far as tax rate if you want to have a competitive tax rate or compare to surrounding cities or our actual comparison cities. So our actual comparison cities are going to be Cleburne, Denison, Corsicana, and Paris. So those are actually comparison cities. But we do like to do, obviously, the surrounding cities because that helps compare.
Well, Summer, we set the comparison cities based on population, median household income, tax rate, etc.
Correct.
The other ones, yes, they are surrounding us, but we actually cannot compete with them, correct?
We can't compete with them.
And that creates the problem with the manpower and
with
everything
manpower
else.
and salaries. We usually try to, when we're talking about manpower and those kind of things and salaries, we try to get at least in the conversation with our competitive cities.
Right.
Obviously, we're never going to, like you said, be able to actually compete with them, but we would like to at least get in the conversation or at least have them think about it.
Because, you can see the stark differences in the tax rates and even for our 4 comparison cities. And this is maybe something when the fiscal committee meets next week that they might want to take a look at these and maybe set up a new set of comparison cities.
Yeah, that would be up to council because council did set those comparison cities.
And that might be something you look at when you're looking at insurance and everything else.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and when we did the police pay plan, I think maybe 4 years ago was that? Do you remember, Mayor? Yeah, 3 years ago, we really looked at, we couldn't compete with some that we were losing actual manpower to, but on the other side of that, we had better benefits from insurance to life insurance. Every bit of benefit that we had was almost it was very competitive or almost better than some of those larger cities as far as the benefits goes.
And that was going to lead to the second comment I was going to make. If we do this, can we also look, now that I know the fiscal committee's meeting next week, can we look at what the employee benefits are in the comparative and competitive cities and how
Sure.
much the employee contributes to either their individual coverages or their family coverages?
Yeah, we
Because I
certainly
think
can.
there's a stark difference between that and compared to what we do. As you said, we have a very generous benefit
Yeah, and
package.
3 years ago, we did adjust that, because it was, we adjusted that because.
We did adjust that.
Yeah, we did adjust it 3 years ago,
We
because,
saved combined the city and
Right.
correct, yeah,
I
because of the
remember.
contributions, that we were making. I think we went, if I remember correctly, to 75-25, where it was,
Yeah, and I
was
don't
always-
think completely heard impacted the employees that much.
No.
Like plan.
no, and we've done some other things.
Your mic. Well, going back to the first slide, we're looking at a possible 10% increase in healthcare
Correct.
costs and everything else. So realistically, that should be reviewed as part of the budget
Sure.
process
Yeah, sure.
this year.
Yeah, and we do that every 2 years. Or if they come back with a 22%
Yeah.
increase, we'll review that with you guys as well, because certainly that's a decision that we won't make alone. So that's just your tax rate. So if you kind of compare, next you can compare by population. Obviously, we fall to number 11 in that list at 28,000. This is not because obviously we won't get the new census for a couple months. So once that comes out, all of these will change. And honestly, I think they'll all increase. So I think we'd fall in the same category. So we fall to 11th. And then when you talk about median household income, we fall to number 13, but just above Denison, Corsicana, and Paris, which those all are our comparison cities. Cleburne falls to, we fall to 13, Cleburne falls to 11. And then after that, everybody else is above us, those bigger cities. Well, not all bigger cities, but. This is just a summary, and you'll see this same picture in your budget book, but this is just a summary of the fund balance of every fund that we have. So this is going to have your general fund, it's going to have all your special revenue funds, it's going to have your water wastewater fund, utility capital, your sanitation fund, all your internal service funds that we have. And off to the right, you'll see the calculated target fund balance. So those are the only ones that by policy that we're required to have a fund balance in there, and then we have a target for. So if you don't see anything to the right, then obviously there's not a policy for that, and that's in our financial policies that council came up with. So if you'll look at those, right now, the general fund at where we sit right now, we're over our target by $72,000. In the debt service one, we're over our target by $13,000. Water wastewater, we're about $14,000 over our target. And then in the airport fund, we're about $1.7 million over our target. So as we go through this process, you'll see everything changes that target. So if we adjust anything, the target's going to change. If we adjust our expenses, our target will change because it's based on a percentage of our expenses, which can be anywhere from 15 to 20%. The last 2 years, we've done 19%. It's not recommended to go below 15% of your, you want your target, 15% of your expenses, so you don't go below that. And then it's recommended you don't go more than 25%. So if you go, and that's our policy, and that's a policy that you guys could obviously change. But the last 2 years, in order to make everything that we wanted to do work, the council made the decision to put it at 19%. So that's where we've left it currently. We certainly could go higher and we certainly could go lower. That would be y'all's decision, but that's kind of where we stood at this point in time.
And all these targets are based on 19% of expenses, right?
The general fund is based on 19%, and I'm pretty sure everything else is 20%. Am I correct? Okay. Water wastewater is 15, and the other two are 20.
Okay.
So. Any other questions? Any questions? No? Okay. Give you some time to look through that. This just gives you a breakdown of the revenues and expenses and kind of where those goes in the categories. This is everything. So you're looking at when you're talking about property taxes, pilot, sales tax, franchise fee, licenses, library fines, interfund transfers, intergovernmental. You'll see over there you've got the capital column. That includes our bonds for water, wastewater, and the street. So you'll see those are kind of big numbers that we haven't seen in the past there, but you'll see that $120 million over there on the capital, but that includes everything you guys improved last year because we're going to get some of that done. And the next year, definitely in the next 2 years. Cost allocations, transfers, non-department, those can be any kind of transfers you're transferring from one fund to another. Those will include that. Special revenue funds. Debt service fund is obviously just our debt. That's what we pay for the debt that we owe. And that's debt from that you guys just approved and debt from, there's a whole debt section in there if you want to go through it all. There's several, there's actually 2 or 3 that we pay off in the next couple of years, which helps our debt out. And that's why we were able to structure the debt, the current debt that we're going to issue the way we have. Total proposed expenses, this is everything. So this includes water, wastewater, general fund, that whole list that you just saw, you see it in the chart. So public works is about 62% of the proposed expenses, $124 million, which is quite a bit. Public safety, you've got $33 million, and then after that you've got a bunch of little ones over there that just kind of hang out over there, so you can read through those if you want to. But those are your 2 big chunks. It's going to be your public works and your public safety. Total revenues, I can't hardly see that one, especially on that one. You've got your sales and income, which includes your water sales, and any kind of, and then you've got your intergovernmental revenue. That's at 31%. Sorry, it's a little difficult to read on that TV. So those are your two big chunks there. Property taxes, you've got a little bit of chunk there, but franchise fees, there's a little bit over there, so there's a bunch of little ones that make up total revenues of all of everything. You can't hardly see that one at all. This is just going to be your proposed fund balance summary, and there's actual page just for this in your budget book that you could probably read a little bit better, which actually I'm going to have to pull out because I can't read that. So I don't want to tell you all wrong. I can remember what page it's on. Oh, it's okay. I can pull it out. Thank you, though. Because I didn't make it, General fund. There we go. All right, here we go. So, as of 9/30/21, which obviously we hadn't got there, our projected fund balance is going to be $9.2 million. Proposed revenues for next year are going to be $28 million. Proposed expenditures are going to be $31 million. And then at the end of September of 2022, our fund balance is going to be proposed at $6,095,293. So if you look down at the bottom, that'll kind of give you an idea. Unallocated, we'll use about $3.1 million of fund balance between our proposed revenues, but our minimum fund balance with our target, $6,022,380. So we're in good shape there. And like I told you before, we're about $72,916 over our target. And like I said, if we start making changes, doing different options, that target will change and shift. And I can show you guys, if you guys would like to see different options, that it changes pretty dramatically and shifts. And if you make change predicted, everything shifts as well. So it's got a lot of moving pieces. This is just going to be a breakdown of your proprietary funds, which is going to be your water, sewer, your airport, your internal service, your golf fund, and your sanitation fund. So just kind of a breakdown of all of those fund balances. They're just put in a different bucket than the general fund because they're not supported by taxes. They're supported by user fees, obviously. So it just shows the changes, and we call that the change in retained earnings because it's a different kind of fund. So if you look through that and have any questions, just please let me know. This one's a little bit, you guys probably see it better on yours, but this is just the debt outstanding as of September 30th. So this includes everything that we have outstanding, and this includes everything that you guys just approved at the previous meeting. So you'll see what belongs to the general fund there on the next to last column, and then the very last column is going to be your water and sewer. So this is just a breakdown. Obviously, it'll tell you those maturity dates. You see there's one in 2022. There's two in 2023. Looks like one in 2025. And then obviously it gets longer and longer after that because we just issued some of those for 20 and 30 years, depending on the project that it was funding. This is just a visual of the current tax-supported debt service only. So if you'll see in 2030, I know in the past a couple of you have seen where it dropped off quite substantially in 2023. Well, that's no longer going to happen.
We fixed that.
Yeah, we did fix that. So so it doesn't quite drop off substantially until 2030. So it drops off there, but it stays pretty level and doesn't go any higher. And obviously that's a lot of assumptions that nothing's going to change between now and 2030, which obviously that won't happen. Something probably change. And we can refund some things too as well. Some of that will come up for refunding that Stephen will alert us to, and we can refund that, and those will change and that. So we'll change and update this every year. Overall personnel changes that you'll see in this, we added 3 patrol officers at a cost of $264,000. We added a fire inspector at $154,847. We added a construction inspector for the Public Works Department at $69,000. We added a permit clerk in the Community Development Office at $43,000. We also included a wastewater plant operator B at $75,000. The majority of those decisions were made to those additions because of the growth that we're seeing. In the patrol side of things, obviously our population's getting bigger, and so we need more on patrol. Same with fire and constructions. Obviously, construction inspector is going to be very important for the $50 million that we're going to spend in the next 2 years. And that doesn't include the current projects that we have right now that we have to inspect, which include public projects and private projects that they have to inspect. And then wastewater plant operator B, that's going to be mainly a maintenance. The That plant was built in 2013. What this main job will do will be maintain everything we have out there. Obviously, if you've got more water, you're using more wastewater. So obviously that's going to have to grow as we go, but being able to maintain that plant so we don't let it deteriorate where it gets to a point, this person's going to be a big piece to that, because they do a lot of preventive maintenance out there, but they always could do more. And so this person will be a big piece of that. We included a GMA technical specialist that would help with all the technical work that we have upstairs. Obviously, if you look at our venue management fund on the revenue side, it's going to do really well, only because we've got a lot of things planned there. And so it was important to be able to have that GMA technical specialist. It's only a part-time position. The good news is we did receive some some funding from the COVID funds to be able to support that Kevin applied for and actually received. So this will help support that for at least the next 2 years to be able to do that. So, and then we also converted a recreation aide that we had as a part-time position to a full-time position. That was a total cost of $14,628. It's really difficult to keep part-time folks, and from what that position was doing, it actually just worked perfect for that person because the stage of his life that he was in, he's done with that stage, and now so we converted that to a full-time position. In there we increased, we have a 4% merit increase, and that's a total between general fund and water and wastewater fund of $695,508. We did some pay plan updates for general fund and for water and wastewater fund. That was a total cost of $112,425. And then we also included some sign-on retention and some spot bonuses. So we included a total of $100,000 there. So when we sat down, Sherry did some research with other cities, and these are becoming more important, especially on the PD side of sign-on bonuses, retention bonuses, or even personally at my husband's work, they get a bonus if they hire somebody and stay 6 months. You get a bonus if they stay long enough. And they've been doing that for years before even all this happened. And so just things like that, we're kind of having to look at different things that we've never had to do before to get some interest for our positions. So we decided to go ahead and put in $100,000 for those positions. On the pay plan update, those are when we sat down with the directors, we talked with them. I think I mentioned it last time. We talked with them about what's going to work for your department. Police has a pay plan, fire has a pay plan, then everybody else was just lumped together. And so I was having, a library guy or a library person compare themselves to a public works person, which has two totally different skill sets. So why are we lumped into the same pay plan? So they sat down, I said, what's going to work for you as you're the one that's hiring, what's going to work for you to be able to hire? And so that's what we came up with, in which it was very reasonable. It wasn't too far-fetched but it just kind of updated the scales, obviously, from the low to the high. We included some positions as, utility worker 1, 2, and 3, and then going on up, because some of those positions, we just had one position, that was it. So where do you go after that? So what this market is looking for right now is actual career paths. So that's kind of what we tried to make there. That's kind of the actual phase 2, since we put that phase 2 off last year. And then this will just give you an idea of the history of the salary adjustments. So 17-18, we gave a 3% merit. 18-19, 3% merit, 1% cost of living. 19-20 was a 2% merit. Last year we put everything on hold, so we didn't give any increases there. And then obviously we're going to recommend a 4% merit this year. Here's kind of the staffing plan where we're at currently. This has been updated and changed quite a bit, but 18-19 we did police pay plan. Theirs was year 1. We split police and fire into 2 different years to make it affordable. So we did 19-20, we did police pay plan year 2. 19-20 we also did the fire pay plan. That would have been year 1. 19-20 we did pay plan update for employees, which what we looked at that time in 19-20 is we looked at getting some of our salaries at least in the 50 percentile of our comparison cities. And then, like I said, in the conversations with our competitive. Some of them we didn't do. Some of them were too far that we didn't even look at. So that was a small adjustment that we did there. So that's why we call that kind of phase 1. So we kind of fit it to where it was at least in the top 50% of our comparison cities. And then year 2 of fire pay plan was the current year that we're in now, and then we're recommending a pay plan update year 2 for the employees, which is the pay plan, the $112,000 that we talked about.
Remind me on this merit, it doesn't apply to civil service. The civil service will be raises across the board,
Correct.
Is that right?
That is
So
correct.
each civil service employee will receive 4%, right?
Correct. That is
Okay.
correct. Yes. Some of the pay-as-you-go capital, so the things that we could pay for currently right now, the fire truck replacement, we put $250,000 each year. Year 2023, we will be replacing our platform or our ladder truck. So we were supposed, that's actually the schedule that we've been on, so that's what we plan to do. And that'll be ready to be replaced then. So we're not we're not bond funding our fire trucks. We haven't done that in, I don't know how long, but since I've been here. So we've been paying pay-as-you-go for that one. Our emergency response vehicles, which will be put into patrol, is going to be 8 of those. Those are the enterprise vehicles, so we'll be able to lease at least 8 Tahoes. With the trucks and all that, they said, don't even wait on it, because we have yet to receive our trucks that we ordered this current budget year. So just the way the market is. So we didn't put any vehicles in for anybody else, which we're in decent shape. We're not exactly where we need to be, but I think we'll be okay for a year at least. The sports park shade structures, we have maroon field to do, and then we'll have orange field to do, and then that project will be complete. It was over 6 years, so that's been a good pay-as-you-go project. We put about $50,000 every year for computer replacements. We've been putting anywhere from, a couple $100,000 for the HVAC replacements to about $50,000. So this will just systematically replace those HVACs before they reach their end of life. So when they get to their 12 to 15 years, or some of them have been 20 years. I think we finally got rid of all the 1990 units, I think a year ago, so that was helpful. So I think the 2 big that we have in here this year are going to be the police, the PD building. So those are 2 big units. But that program's been really well, and it's worked really great. So we thank y'all for that. The kennel replacements out at the animal shelter, this is going to be year 2 of that. We replaced 6 of those already this year. So we plan to, I think, do 10 next year. We're going to do a pay-as-you-go for a Jetto trailer. That's going to be in Public Works. We have some facility upgrades in there, which will be restrooms, and then in the annex building and in the library, and then also the ADA shelving in the library. We've put in the entrance signs to update those out on the 380 and 69, so we've got some ideas for those to be able to do, so that's about $34,000 we put there. We've included a command post vehicle for the police department, which the one that they have, the old red truck that they have, is pretty out of date. So the Oak Creek Park upgrades that you saw in Brett's presentation, we've included that, and then we've also included downtown benches and lighting. So this is kind of just the big picture stuff. There's been some other little stuff that we've included in there as well. Other items included in the budget is going to be the tourism funding of $50,000. That's where those organizations or events that put heads in beds will come and request money from you guys as city council. So we put in $50,000 for that. The tourism board will also vote on that and make recommendations as well to you guys. So that process, I think we just did a press release on that as well. So that process will start whatever you guys decide to approve in there. And then the non-governmental funding, we've put in $15,000. So that's going to be your Keep Greenville Beautiful, who's that? Drug-Free Greenville, I always forget that one. I don't know why. Let's see, Senior Center Resources always asked for that in the past. And so I think as of July 1st, when the deadline was, Keep Greenville Beautiful was the only one that had applied for non-governmental funding. Just some other transfers to capital improvement program. So just some comparisons. So general fund, there was an increase of $8.2 million. Utility capital fund, there was an increase of 161.
0.2%.
I'm sorry, 8.2%, yeah. I give them a million. 8.2%. Utility capital is 161%. We didn't do a lot last year, but we've got a little bit of fund balance in there to do something this year. And then vehicle replacement is going to include our enterprise funds, fire truck fund, all that all goes into a vehicle fund, which you'll see on that fund balance sheet if you have any questions all that goes into that vehicle fund. We transfer out of those accounts and go into there. And that's an increase of 4.4%. Here's kind of just a dollar breakdown of the proposed that we have for our CIP program, our capital improvement program. General fund, 2.5 million. Talked about the vehicle replacement at 945. Hotel motel is going to be, your signs, the signs that we talked about. MIS is going to be all the IT things that we've got built in there. Water wastewater fund is the 1.3 million for the Tawakoni pump station, which goes along with the raw water line. The airport fund, that's going to be for Majors Road extension that we've been planned out there for a couple years now. We're able to fund that as well. Vehicle replacement from the water wastewater fund. Since there's not much there, we didn't do hardly any trucks there. So golf fund, if you'll remember, we asked for a couple aerators and mowers and greens mowers and things like that. That's the actual lease payments for those. So that's not the actual big mowers there. And then you've got your bond funding. So your 500,000 is going to be for your 50 million for your street, and then your Roy Warren at 4.5 million. Then you've got your COs that you sold for the radio infrastructure, and then the EOC, and Austin Park. So those 3 things there. And then the water wastewater funding, CO funding, which are going to be backed by revenues, is going to be your 50 million for your raw water line.
Now, can the pumps out there, the 1.3 million above, be moved over into the bond?
Yeah.
It possibly could, yes. But that kind of, when we did our capital matrix scoring, that jumped to the front of that was before the bond, so that jumped to the top of the priority list. So we certainly could do that and put that into something else, because there's plenty that we have that's on that list. So, but yes, it could certainly.
Okay.
Yes.
I think we should consider that. That was the intent of those funds to do that. So.
Well, we've done some upgrades to the pump. If you'll remember, we've done some of those. So this is just a completion of that, and so we didn't want to. If the bond didn't, if you guys didn't vote the bond, we wanted to keep that in there. So we certainly could make those changes.
Okay.
We voted the bond. Anything we could shift over would probably be helpful.
Sure. Other than that, I'll take any questions, additional questions or comments.
I've got one comment. Between now and the next meeting, I'd like you to go through and your proposed budget and see what it would take to get down to somewhere around mid 59 range tax rate,
Look at that option.
59.7, 59.9, and make some recommendations.
Okay.
I think considering the county earlier today announced that they were dropping their rate almost 4 cents, and GISD is down almost 5 cents. I think understanding that we have a lot of needs and a lot of outdated infrastructure, I would hope we could get down a penny or a penny and a half or so. So I'd like to see your recommendations on it.
Yep, we can do that.
I think, are you finished, Al?
Yeah, I am. Thank
Are
you.
there any other comments? I've always said people are our most important asset, and I think 4% is generous, but I think that the inflation that we're experiencing right now with people, I mean, a tank of gas probably costs $20 more in the last 6 months. I think we should consider either raising that 4% to 5% or make it 4% COLA and 1% COLA or something like that.
4% merit, 1% COLA?
Maybe, yeah.
Okay.
Something like that. And then one of the comments I received from citizens a lot is I called and I didn't get an answer. And I know I want to just preface my remarks by saying when I'm down here, everybody here, city secretaries, you, Kathy, everybody is just doing multiple jobs and whatever. And I'd like to see if we can develop, if our phone system will allow us to have somebody central that answers the phone if it rolls over, so that our citizens don't get as much voicemail.
Okay.
I don't know what we can do. I don't know. I've had experience with those systems in the past. I don't know how sophisticated this system is,
Well,
but,
it's brand new, so it better work.
well, I know, so I
better
would,
be able to
I
do
would
that.
think that we could probably do something about that. And just because it's new doesn't mean it's sophisticated. But I'd like to see something where our citizens, when they call, I don't know, have a success rate of talking to some individual, I don't know what percentage, 90% of the time or something like that, that could just take a note and pass it on and at least feel like
Okay,
that they got
I'll
a
work with, yeah, I'll work
response.
with IT on that.
So. And I just wonder, based on what's happening also, if the sign-on and retention bonuses, you budgeted, I think, $100,000 for that, and I just wonder if that's enough. When you
we
consider-
when we sat down and looked at that, we considered all the jobs that we currently have open right now. As far as retention, we were gonna kind of take that on a case-by-case basis, as far as retention goes. So all the sign-on bonuses and all that, we based that on the number of jobs that we had open right now.
Okay.
So that's kind of where we got to that number. So it wasn't an exact science, but, you know, we based it on that at least. And then we
What kind
looked
of
at,
sign, when you did that, what kind of signing bonus did you get, for example, for a police officer?
police officer, actually I have it. Here's what we considered. I got it right here. Let me pull it out. Because Sherry did me a nice presentation for that. Yeah, here it is. So when we looked at that, so for a non-civil service employee for a sign-on bonus, we looked at $1,000 to be paid in two parts, $500 after 90 days on the job, and then $500 after the 6-month period. Sign-on for a civil service, we did $3,000 paid in two parts, $1,500 at hire, $1,500 at the completion of the lateral entry 12-month probationary period. So we did kind of two kind of civil service and non-civil service kind of work separately. So we kind of looked, Sherry looked at those differently.
And how do those numbers compare to our competitors in terms of signing bonuses?
I mean, that's what Sherry, I mean, they're pretty close to kind of like Roy City's offering that currently. So that's kind of what she looked at. That's what we worked off of. So they're close.
Did you look at any like comparison jobs, not civilian jobs, not government jobs, to compare to those?
Not really, no.
Police officer currently makes what, $54,000 a year or something like that.
Starting, yes.
Find a job that's similar in salary. What kind of signing bonuses do they get?
We didn't look outside. I mean, we mainly looked at municipalities, but we certainly could if that's something you'd like us to look at. But it just gets, I mean, when you're looking at apples and oranges when you're talking about PD and, you know, a private job.
Not to the people looking for jobs, though. Right, that's not apples and oranges.
Yeah, I guess. The jobs you're actually doing, though, what they're actually getting into. So. But yeah, we certainly could. I mean, we don't have a problem with that. We looked at mainly what our competitive, well, Roy City's not competitive, but their comparison, and who we're losing people to. I mean, I think they looked at Sulphur Springs and.
I'd like to see those be more, I'd like you to consider making those more aggressive.
Okay.
I've seen the city of Dallas, for example, I think they have, they're going to try this next budget year to hire 250 or 300 police officers. And I just think that we need to, I don't think we move the needle if we're equal to our comparison cities. I think we need to be better than our comparison cities. So I just want to make sure you have enough ammo to move that needle.
Yeah, and what our plan was, we were gonna, you know, put in 100,000 currently this year. Obviously, we don't know if we're gonna use all of that, you know, in this
Right.
current year. So we put it in a project and just build it up from year to year, so it doesn't go away. So, you know, say we go into next year and if we have 100,000 for simple math and we use, you know, 75,000, that 25,000 will just roll over to the next year and then we can just add to that kind of pay as you go type of deal, because that was our plan.
What's our current head count and how many vacancies do we have?
She knows off the top of her head.
We currently have run about 20 openings. We've been fluctuating in the last 4 months, about 20 openings. And our current head count is, we're sitting right around 270
270?
for the city only.
yeah.
Right, just
Yeah.
city.
Yeah.
So that sounds like we've filled about 7 roles in the last couple months.
We've filled some, but as soon as we fill some, we've got others
Yeah.
leaving. So,
Yeah.
in fact, I was talking to our HR generalist today, and we were talking about what she has done in the last 6 months, and we've hired 32 people and lost 34. So it's a flat. So it's
I know this is a bad word, but have we explored outsourcing anything that we, in vacancies that are hard to fill?
no.
I don't know if that's a possibility if the job market continues to be tight to outsource like we did the repairs to the water line cuts in the roads and some of the potholes and that. Is there some things that we could outsource?
Most of our jobs are lower level, and so paying outsourcing fees and stuff like that wouldn't be advantageous. We wouldn't be able to recoup it before we lost.
Even compared to total compensation with benefit packages and everything?
Yeah, I would say if we had, you know,
It may change
I
in
would save that
September.
for managerial level positions. If we have things like that we're having trouble filling, then definitely, for sure.
And even the folks that we do outsource with, just say for instance, just our cemeteries, I mean, they're having problems keeping their own people. So, you know, we're struggling with keeping those people that are, you know, that we're outsourcing to, making sure that they stay on the ball and those kind of things. So that happens too. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, so it just depends on.
I mean, obviously with the job market the way it is, the economy the way it is and everything else now, to stay competitive, we need to
Yeah.
explore all options.
No, I know,
Correct.
we agree.
So-
We're trying. But it changes every single day too.
It certainly does.
Yes, it does.
Thank you.
So, Sherry,
Sherry, do you feel in this area that $15 an hour has become kind of the default for entry level?
You know, I have heard just over the last couple of weeks that we have had some people that have left to go to Walmart, or they've gone to Brahms, or they're children of some of our employees, and they are being paid anywhere from $12.50 and $12.50 is the low, that's the starting low, up to $16 an hour. So it's very hard to convince somebody that's going to be in a ditch, digging a hole or whatever, to do it for $12.49, $12.88, $13 when you can go and deal with Walmart groceries at $15, $16 an hour. Now, we offer, you know, competitive benefits, and I don't know from a Walmart perspective, you know, I don't spend time looking at their benefits only because we don't compare, except for maybe wages, that we have a really good benefit package. And I'm looking at other ways that we can enhance that and make it better. Got several ideas on what we can do that can be just offerings to employees, whether it be supplemental type benefits that they may be interested in taking. So.
I was speaking with Summer about it earlier, and I understand that money's not always a motivating factor in a
Correct.
job, and we all know that, I guess, from past history, but
That's correct.
it just seems like we're struggling to be competitive. I want us to be competitive because people are really our only asset.
That's correct.
Yep,
And the more we show that we want them here, the more they'll stay.
right.
Money's one thing, benefits is another, opportunity, training, the interaction with their leadership and their first line manager. Those are all important factors. And out of the top 10, money's 6. So it's not even the 1 or 2.
How do they value our what I consider a very robust benefits package? How do our employees see the value in that?
They do. That is one of the most confusing and stressful things that employees go through every year. And so they do value them as long as they have the opportunity to understand them every year. So that's why we do open enrollment meetings. We bring our broker in to talk. We bring in our other vendors and stuff so that they can have face-to-face time with those individuals and feel more comfortable about what they're selecting. And it gives them an opportunity to feel better about when they sign on the dotted line what they've signed on for the year, that they're good to go. the high deductible, I'm getting it wrong. High deductible health plan has been very successful over the last year and a half. The HSA that we have tied to that has really, I've heard some that have not really signed on to do, they've only gotten the money from the city, and they've come in and they've asked, is there any way that I can start contributing because I see the value of doing this? And so they find another vehicle to invest money in their health care, or if they don't use it, it continues to grow and it's there when they do need it. So it's about education, and the more education we do, the better off we are as far as getting our employees locked and loaded, in addition to the money that
But
we
a
can
lot
pay.
more employees have moved to those health savings account in the last, I think we've done that for 2 years now.
Yes, yes. We had our first year, we had like 118 join after we changed we tweaked it a little bit, and now we're I can't remember the number, but we've upped it tremendously in a year's time. And we go through and explain it to them when they're new hires. We show them the value of it. Most of the time, the younger generation are the ones that latch on to that one.
Right. Any other questions?
Just FYI, I was going to a convention last week, and I had to go through McKinney, and 3 different businesses over there, which are 3 big contractors in McKinney, manufacturers. Encore Wire had a big, huge banner out by their new building on Airport Drive that they were giving a $500 sign-on bonus. Don't know what category of work it was. Emerson Products, $1,000 sign-on bonuses. Those are probably more technical jobs at Emerson. But the thing that really caught my eye was a cement corporation, very large, and was offering $1,000 for drivers.
They're having trouble with drivers. My son is a concrete driver, and he gets offers all the time.
Really?
Yeah,
It's just FYI.
yeah.
I think everybody's faced with the same
Right.
issues, you know. Coming up with that perfect package. We'd
Right.
love to.
And it'll be good today and bad tomorrow.
Right, exactly.
Now, we are doing a job fair tomorrow at the Civic Center in an effort to try and get these 20 jobs filled, and we hope to have a good turnout. So we've been advertising it, and have a lot of the departments that will be there to represent what they have as far as job openings are concerned. We've also got some of the departments that don't even have any openings, but they're coming to, like, the fire department's going to be there. We don't have a test posted, so we can't take applications, but we can sure promote our fire department, and if we have any, future tests, coming up, then we've got, hopefully something to start from.
Is that in conjunction with Juice?
Juice is going to be part of it.
Okay.
The hospital had a job fair today, did they
They
not?
did.
Do you know if they were offering any sign-on bonuses or
I
any
don't.
incentives?
All I did was check what kind of jobs they were trying to fill, and a lot of them were kind of technical. So I was worrying about our competition. I think we didn't have that.
Any more questions for Sherry or Summer regarding, this is a great presentation, Summer. I think you framed
A
this
lot of
very
hard
well,
work. Thank you.
helped us understand it.
And if you have any questions, any comments or anything, please let me know. I mean, obviously the next meeting, we can go over whatever you guys would like to go over, but I'll provide an option. If we lower the tax rate, here's how this capital will change, or this will change, or whatever will change. And just so you know, when we're utilizing fund balance like the way we are in this current budget, they're by policy, they're supposed to be for one-time projects. They're not for operating or for salaries or anything like that. So when we're utilizing that fund balance from the $2 million that we don't have to pay for the debt service that we will next year, all of that's been utilized with capital one-time purchases. So just keep that in mind. But I'll give that option if there's any other options that you'd like to see, different tax rates, different things included in the capital, something taking out, any additions, when you talked about upping the sign-on bonuses or things like that, we'll do a couple of those. We'll do another option with, obviously, the 5% that you talked about either way, that you'd like to do it. So I'll do a couple options like that. But if you'd like to see anything different on August 24th, just please let me know, because I'll start working on that tomorrow right away. So.
Yeah, I'd like to see, I'm
go
sorry,
ahead.
Jerry. I'd like to see something around 5.8, 5.9.
Okay, we'll start at 5.9. How about that?
Okay, great,
Okay.
thank you.
For those of you who weren't here the last year, she has a wonderful spreadsheet that she can just, you can say, what happens, various scenarios, and it just
Yeah.
propagates through the spreadsheet. She can tell you right there what's going to happen. So it's very, some of the best budgeting tools we've ever had, and it's really
So is that something you
outstanding
want to
what
see
she's
at the
done.
next meeting with that one? I mean, that's the one we usually do with Talia, when she loves to
Just-
sit up here and go through it.
That's your call, so. Anyway.
We'll give you some options, and then we can go through
Yeah,
that,
it's
if
just
there's any
outstanding.
changes. So
So,
we
anyway.
can be ready for either one.
Okay, having said that, I think we'll go into executive session under, which of these sections do we need to go under? For all of the sections, or just?
Yeah, just so you can say as it appears.
Okay, as it appears on the agenda. So we'll go into executive session at 5:35.
The recipe for great food is simple. Make it fresh. Wings to go in Greenville, where every order is a custom order made with fresh ingredients. Wings to go, 7818 Wesley Street in Greenville. Simply great wings.
Need a part for the right price? Look for that red and blue sign. Henley Auto Supply at 1510 Stonewall. Over 800,000 CarQuest parts to choose from. Domestic, European, and Asian parts. Henley Auto Supply at 903-455-1969. 455-1969. Henley Auto Supply has the right part to keep your vehicle running. And backed by the best hometown service. Henley Auto Supply. Great people, great products, great prices. Henley Auto Supply and CarQuest.